Alright, this is how we're starting the channel, I guess. Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Legion, but you can call me Jacob, and for one of my first videos, I wanted to talk about the game Jump Force. But before that, hit the like button, subscribe, and help this channel grow. I want to try and hit 50 subscribers as a first goal. I know, tall order, but I want to start somewhere. Now this goal is going to be a nice overview of Jump Force and my thoughts. If you want to actually watch, then I got some gameplay in the background. Otherwise, you can just listen to me ramble for a bit. Also, any cutscenes shown will be from outside sources because I don't have a capture card at the moment and Jump Force blocks all recording of cutscenes, something I will get into later. Although, I did just buy a capture card last night and it should be in by Tuesday, so yippee, I can make some videos with that. Alright, let's take a look. Released back in January of 2019, just over 5 years ago, Jump Force was a game that aimed to be the product that brought the most popular shonen anime and manga to one game. And I mean it did do that, so drop in the pros section. From the likes of some of the biggest anime and manga such as One Piece and Naruto, to some lesser known or older ones like City Hunter, there were many characters that people could look at and say, hey, I know that guy. And then people see Yu-Gi-Moto and ask, wait, isn't this a fighting game? Why is the duelist here? Regardless, Jump Force released to the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, leaving many fans either disappointed or saddened by the state of the game. Fans had complaints about different parts of the game, whether that be the character roster, the story, the fighting mechanics, or other things. What was meant to be the best and highest quality looking anime fighting game crumbled and got delisted back in February of 2022. But how did we get here? What were the criticisms, and did they actually hold any weight? Well, let's go over what all happened in the game and my thoughts on them. The game starts with a city and a portal in the sky. Frieza has entered with powerful clones called Venoms. And no, not the symbiotes. Spider-Man 2 might be another video. Suddenly, a shockwave, and Goku flies at Frieza. While fighting, our character dies. Then future Trunks comes along with a robot named Navigator to reconstruct us. I know, we're already cutting. But now we get to create our character. You get to choose your fighting style between 4 types: a martial artist style, a pirate style, a ninja style, or a swordsman style. The first 3 types came standard with the game, while the swordsman style got added a few months later in an update. While you might think you actually have an option here to choose your style, you really don't in hindsight. The only difference between the 4 choices is the animations that occur while you're attacking. All styles allow you your standard rush attack and your rush attack while holding up or down on the left joystick. This is very apparent with the first 3 styles, as if you're not paying too much attention to the animations, you won't actually see any difference in what you choose. Really, the only different one is the 4th, as it is a swordsman style, so you do at least get swords to spice up the animations. But the swords are just some photon blue swords instead of actual swords that you can pick. With the amount of swords in anime, especially Shonen Jump anime, not being able to pick your own swords feels like a crime. Why can't I scroll through a list and get the Demon Dweller sword from Black Clover, or the Wado Ichimonji from One Piece, or even just some generic-looking katanas and other sword types? Moving on from that, everything else seems like a normal character creator, except everything is in a more anime style. Hair, eyes, and even facial features, as well as your voice. I personally went with a red color look and added Sasuke's curse mark from OG Naruto, as well as a nice beard. I even made my right eye darked out with a red color. If you couldn't tell by my character, I really like red. One thing that really annoyed me though was the voice option. Now I didn't play with audio, something I will get into later, but choosing your voice in this game is almost totally pointless. Your character has no dialogue, none in cutscenes, or even at the beginning of battles like other characters do. The only thing it does affect is when your character is using abilities, i.e. what voice is used to call out the move names. I'll talk more about audio later, but this option just feels useless. I understand that in most games the main character being mute is common, but I feel like the choice here is just underutilized. Anyways, we wake up and jump into tutorial mode. You learn what the different buttons do and how to fight off the villainous Venoms. Don't worry, I'll be talking about the actual gameplay in a later section, because that will be a whole deal. After defeating them, you meet up with Goku and Trunks to be brought to the home base of the Jump Force, Umbras Base. There you meet up with Luffy, Naruto, and the director of the place, Glover. After some exposition, we cut back to the city to meet the enemy, Galena and Kane, who have a little villain monologue. They basically want to merge the anime worlds with our world and take it over. Classic Shonen Jump villain goal. Now we get into Chapter 1 and the ability to choose our team. There's Team Alpha, led by Goku. They go around the world, defeating Venoms and protecting the unaffected areas. Team Beta, led by Luffy, who goes around reclaiming affected areas. And finally, Team Gamma, led by Naruto, who sneaks around and gathers information to use against the enemy. Choosing a team will greatly affect many different parts of the main game. Quickly, list them off. Exactly. Now, technically, there is one difference, and that is your starting abilities. If you roll with Goku, you can start with the Kamehameha, 1080-pound Phoenix, Sand Tsunami, and Light Grenade. Rock with Luffy, you get the Gum Gum Red Hawk, Pistol Kiss, Lightning Triplet, and Diablo Jambe Concast Spin. What about Naruto? He gives you the Rasengan, Fire Fist, Fireball Jutsu, and Heat Dome Attack. Now I said starting abilities. You can go through and buy all of the other abilities using the coins the game gives you at the shops. In fact, some of the later free missions allow you to get these abilities just by beating them. So other than starting abilities, absolutely nothing is affected. Again, why is this here? I understand getting starting abilities, but then why not give it to us in a different way? I mean, we had a whole character creator earlier that I feel would have been perfect for getting starting abilities. But no, you get them from your team, and it is a mix and match of some of the starting members of that team. Now I'll talk about my love for these moves later, but I chose a pirate style of fighting. If I had joined Team Alpha, why should I have gotten 1080-pound Phoenix, a swordsman move, right off the bat? I didn't pick a swordsman fighting style. I think it would have been better to give me moves more tailored to the fighting style I chose over the team that I joined. Asking me to join a team gives off the idea that I'm going to be making a huge gameplay decision, especially from how much they were hyping it up with the explanations and then going to talk to each one. I thought we would be able to play out the main story in 3 different ways, but still come together with the same ending. I even remembered when I first played the game, I looked up online what was the best team to join just so I could get the most fun experience. But what we got made the choice feel much less important and as if it didn't matter, which it really didn't. Moving on, I picked Team Beta because One Piece is my favorite anime. The leader of whatever team you picked will then bring you into a computer simulation field to test out the new moves you got. Afterwards, the story really starts. The majority of the rest of the game is going around the world to recruit members to the Jump Force, as well as defeating Venoms, saving the other characters that have been corrupted by cubes, and defeating villains, multiple, and I mean multiple, times. In a way to work with the limited cast of villains that the game provides, they use the tactic of you fighting clones of different characters and Venoms so that the story wouldn't end super fast. And while this tactic is smart when you're limited with villain choices, they dragged out the story so much that it gets exhausting to have to fight these guys time after time after time. There are 5 main villains, not including Venoms, that show up, I swear, at least 10 times. Blackbeard, Frieza, Toguro, Galena, and Kane. Now, Galena and Kane don't show up as much, but Jesus do the other 3. I think you fight each guy like at least 3 times every chapter, and it gets old fast. The only good thing that helped remedy this was that they would spread this out between recruiting other characters, fighting Venoms, and fighting different teams of clones. Continuing, you move through the story until the end of Chapter 7, where it's revealed that Director Glover is actually the mastermind behind everything, and is actually an alien called Prometheus. The final chapter is you and the rest of the Jump Force going to stop him and take him down. He steals your powers, you get them back, you win. I'm going to come back and touch on this again after talking about the gameplay. Now, the story as a concept is not bad. It feels like an arc of an anime, which means it fits perfectly. But the execution just doesn't work at all. The story drags on for 9 chapters, which has a range of 5 to 10 fights in each. I'd say personally, once I finished Chapter 3, the game started to feel stuck in a loop until the end. At this point, we recruited most of the characters for the Jump Force. Now, going on missions just ends up with one of the members getting corrupted by a cube, and we need to kick them back to their senses. Or we're fighting a villain, or we're just fighting some Venoms. And this just drags on for so long. With how monotonous the story started to feel, people wondered, how could the same company that is using amazing stories create a new story that feels so lifeless and generic? Part of this, I think, came from the portrayal of the characters and how their souls were nowhere to be seen in this project. But first, let me touch on Umbras Base. Also, Sanji gets cucked like halfway through the story. Thought that was kind of funny. This thing was so unneeded. I understand having an HQ for the Jump Force so that everyone has a place to reconvene, but like it was not executed well. The main parts are the middle hub, an area for each team, and an office for the director, all with counters for shops, missions, etc. You even have a huge ring around the base that does absolutely nothing. Now don't get me wrong, the place looks great. I mean, the areas for the teams representing the team leader's anime of origin look so cool, and having the people manning the counters in them with outfits from their universe was cool too. But otherwise, this place was just useless. For every type of counter, no matter which one you went to, you got the same options. All missions showed up at every mission counter, every ability and outfit item showed up at the shops. I feel like with there being different teams, you could at least differentiate them a little more in this sense. Have all the reclaiming missions go to Team Beta's area, and have all the Dragon Ball abilities only be able to be purchased from the Team Alpha area. Just differentiate a little. Unless there was a specific NPC to talk to, I just got all my missions from the middle hub mission counter. Also, there are so many random NPCs roaming the area. And I mean random in they look like they came straight out of the character creator. You'd think that with the first part of the story being going around and recruiting other characters, you might be able to see them walking around and talking with each other, or maybe seeing all of them in different groups within the base. But unless the character is there to give you a mission, there are basically no anime characters present in the base. Some will just stand in a static place in one of the team's areas, and that's the best. I think it would have been great to go from a slightly vacant base to a busy base with all of the characters populating it everywhere. That would have given the base more meaning and more of a reason to be here. And if it would have been a problem that the base was too big, then shrink it. Get rid of the giant ass ring around the outside that does legitimately nothing. Condense the team's areas to make them visible from the main hub, and maybe have Glover's office be the only underground one. Just something to make the place a little more lively. But really all it is extra assets and rendering time that could have been changed to a menu system. Looking at the roster of characters for Jump Force, we get some obvious ones. The big three, Dragon Ball, Demon Slayer. Nobody from Demon Slayer? Well, we got Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Shaman... Nobody there either? Well, who else? Really? I mentioned this before, but why is Yugi here? And in the first DLC, Kaiba was added. Why? These guys don't actually fight in their series. Now don't get me wrong, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I've seen most of the anime, I've got cards, I even played some of the standalone video and mobile games. But I wouldn't have put them in a fighting game. I know that other series like this have been able to take characters from games without combat and put them in their fighting game. Think any Animal Crossing character or the Wii Fit trainer in Super Smash Bros. It could work, but there are just so many other options that I feel would have been a higher priority over the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. Starting with other series that actually have people fight in them. Like Demon Slayer had been out for almost 2 years before Jump Force was released, but not a soul from that. And while it might have been a little close for consideration for the initial release, Jujutsu Kaisen started publishing a year before Jump Force's release, so we could have at least gotten this as a DLC new edition, which would have made perfect sense to me. I also think that we should have gotten different characters from some of the characters that we did get. Why is Boa Hancock here and not any other Straw Hat? Don't tell me you wouldn't want to see Chopper in this game. I think that would have been cool as shit. Make his abilities turn him into different forms, maybe. More realistically, why is there no Brooke or Frankie, Usopp, or Robin? I feel like they could have worked in this game so much more and would have been a more obvious choice. Or why is Kaguya here? Where did that come from? And over Sakura? Look, I'm not the biggest fan of her. I am in the Sakura sucks crowd. But why was she not in the game? And I like Gaara. But why no Shikamaru or Minato or any Akatsuki member in place of Gaara? On top of all of that, some series only got like 1 or 2 characters added in. My Hero Academia started with Deku and Deku only. Understandable, he is the main character, but no one else? Same with Black Clover, only starting with Asta. Even some more obscure series like Dai's Great Adventure and Fist of the North Star only got 1 character, which I feel could benefit from more characters so that people who don't know about the series can get more interested in it. Now they did sort of fix this issue with DLC releases that added characters to the game. We got more My Hero Academia characters, Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, and some more. This was cool, but still no new series. I mean new series like Undead Unluck, Sakamoto Days, and Mashle were starting and they were becoming hits within the manga community. Don't tell me you wouldn't want to see Andy with some parts bullets, or Sakamoto blasting people in the head. But nothing. Not a peep. I mean, we literally got Light Yagami as a NPC, only there for story purposes, and we couldn't spend time on anything else? Light barely even added to the story, so I feel like there was no point to having him. Speaking of DLC, I'm recording this in 2024, and the game was shut down in 2022. It was pulled from all digital storefronts, and all physical production had already been stopped. Now, even if I want to play with these DLC characters, I have to scour eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or my local game store to hope and pray that they have a fair-priced deluxe physical version that came with all the DLC characters on the disc. Or, I have to do the trick of sharing accounts with a friend that has the DLC. But look at me. You think I have friends? Especially ones that play Jump Force? Companies are asking too much of me, man. Looking at the characters we did get, I think most of them look incredible. I mean, these guys look like they're animated cells, just turned into 3D, and I love it. They look pretty realistic, and they don't seem too far off from their manga and anime portrayals. Honestly, the only thing I could say negative is that some of them have a bit of a thicker face, but I think that's just the effect of actually bringing them into 3D. Other than that, I am very happy. But animations and movements are on a whole nother story, and when I talk about these, I mean strictly in cutscenes. These guys are stiff as hell. Basically no alternative facial expressions are given, and they look like mannequin dolls that can barely move. I think one of the only times I've come across so far of different expressions are when you rescue Sanji and Luffy jumps on top of him. That is probably the most unique animation and personality you see from the characters, and that leads into my next thing. These characters don't feel like they're characters. I mean, they mention things from their series like items and events, but it doesn't feel like their personality got carried over. The reason why a lot of fights start doesn't make sense when looking at certain characters. When you go to meet Killua with Gon, Killua is basically on site to fight you. In Hunter x Hunter, Killua isn't on site to fight with somebody unless he senses them as a threat, and even then, he normally backs down a little if Gon is already friendly with them. So us coming with Gon and Killua wanting to fight us makes no sense to his character. We also don't get anything with these characters being themselves around each other. I think the closest we get is the whole Sanji arc where he does his pervert act with a disguised Galena, but no Luffy, Naruto, and Goku chillin' and relaxing. No Asti yelling or Deku blabbing about heroes. Nothing between the characters in Hunter x Hunter or any of the younger kid characters talking. I think it would have been great to have a mission where you could play as 3 child characters. Throw me in with Boruto, Gon, and Dai and beat up a bunch of other kid characters. We at the Gaming Legion YouTube channel do not condone the use of child abuse. Thank you. The characters that were added to the game got some love, especially those from the big 3 in Dragon Ball, but the developers took everything that made these characters special to the fans and boiled them down to one-dimensional fighters that are really only there to carry you through the story, and everything else seemed to be pushed to the side or even forgotten in some cases. But if I could say one positive thing, I'd say the ability choices for these characters were outstanding. Now that we're 18 minutes into the video, let's actually talk about the gameplay of the video game. The fighting. Oh my god, is it bad? Now, I will admit that I've not played many fighting games at this point in my life. I haven't played Tekken or Mortal Kombat, I haven't even seen a copy of Street Fighter since arcades, but I think that makes my input on this a little more valid as I come in as a fighting game noob. And my take, this shit can be so unbalanced. I will say, I ended up rewriting a bit of this section after playing the free missions a little more, as I realized a few things. This section was going to be a lot more negative, but my points will still stand. First off, why is there a stat and level up system? Unless I'm mistaken, isn't the main point of a fighting game that as you progress, the enemy AI just becomes more complex and able to do combo moves quicker? Why are there levels to make my stats higher when the main point of a fighter is to just get better at using the moves? Another thing that leveling up does is for non-custom characters, it adds support skill points so that you can add on support skills to that character. I do like this concept, and I can accept that as a reason to have a leveling system, but not when it's affecting the stats that it's giving me, and the point that it's giving me stats at all. While all it does is increase your health and attack, it can be the difference between big boy damage and you're getting whipped. If you try to just play through the main story and maybe a few extra missions along the way, you will get raw dogged with how little damage you do to some of these enemies, making it so you have to grind free missions if you want to consistently do reliable damage in the main story missions. And that leads me into my next and biggest point. Enemies do way too much fucking damage with their abilities. If you haven't seen the gameplay in the back yet, take a look real quick. Here are a few characters using the abilities, not even their ultimates, just one of their 3 regular abilities. These whores. I swear, if you get hit by even one attack, you can say goodbye to at least 35 to 40% of your health. Like, at least wrap up if you're gonna rip my pants and clap my ass that hard. And to make matters worse, if you were to do the exact same move, it would seem like you just took a piss into a big-ass lake.
What the hell is even that?
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
My dick. And sometimes, the enemy AI is just so advanced so early on that they will chain abilities one right after the motherfucking other and raffle stomp you, meaning you will lose like 50 to 60% of your health within 5 seconds. I will now come back and say that when playing through the free missions, and I am 2 to 3 times the level of my opponent, I am doing the big boy damage that I was dreaming of. But my point still stands. Why, if I'm staying in line with the story progression and leveling to around the same level as my opponents, hypothetically, am I getting fucked over so hard? The game basically incentivizes you to over-level for these missions if you want to go in doing decent damage. And this is an exaggeration. I played some of the free missions where I am only a level or 2 under my opponent, and the gap is still there. The gap only goes away if you are equal level, or it'll give you the advantage when you're at least like 5 levels ahead. Now, I've mentioned them before, it's time to actually talk about them. These abilities, they look fucking insane. Let me bring some positivity. Become a monk real quick. I think that the choices for all of the characters' abilities and how their animations look are fantastic. I mean, Luffy getting Gum Gum Gatling and Gear 4 transformation, Asta's got Black Meteorite, Deku's got Delaware Detroit Smash, Gon has Fortify. Okay, they can't be all winners, but I'd say the majority of abilities were amazing. The animations look clean, the effects go hard, and when you don't get fucked over, the damage can be really good. Alright, now that I've sucked the dick of Shonen Jump enough, let's get back. The mechanics of these abilities hurt my soul more than Lin Moyu hitting a Soul Blaze. If you don't know Manhwa, get on that shit, it's awesome. Every ability can be blocked, except like a 5th of them where the moves are unblockable. But what pisses me off about this is that all ultimate moves are blockable. At least almost all of them. Let me repeat that. Your ultimate move, one that requires you to take like 45% damage, a one-time use before your meter goes back to 0, can be blocked. Now, when I'm blocking against an enemy, damn, does that feel good, because I just avoided a 5-second cutscene of me getting anal raped by the killer clown that lusts for kids. But when my opponent blocks it, it's like when the skinny kid tries to throw a weak-ass punch against Mike Tyson. Like, you'll barely feel my foundation applying ass slap. Just take it, please. Why can you block an ability that should, in theory, be unblockable? It doesn't make sense to me. And even better, sometimes if you are just against the edge of the field and you try using an ability that will dash towards your opponent, sometimes you can get stuck in between your opponent and the wall and you won't do anything, whether they're blocking or not. Even fucking better. And another thing. You can't cancel any of these moves' animations. So say I use Gum Gum Red Hawk and I'm running at my opponent. If they use any ranged ability, or even a move that starts after mine, they can not only stop me dead in my tracks, but they knock me back half the time and stick their dick in my mouth like Cartman did Butters for 20% of my health. all while I could literally not do anything because I was stuck in an animation. Or if I use 1080-pound Phoenix and my opponent decides to pop their ultimate and throw a ball of energy at me, I can't use the game mechanic of blocking the attack because I'm still stuck in the animation. And basically as soon as you hit the button combination to use an ability, even if it gets canceled out within the next frame, it will still take however many bars of ability charge needed. Meaning, if I got 2 bars of ability charge and use a move, then it gets canceled out right away, well, I can say goodbye to those 2 bars, and I now need to recharge them. Fuck me, I guess. Let me also talk about the shield. It is super fucking broken. I already mentioned how almost every ability can be blocked, but so can every other normal attack. With the exception of a few abilities, grabbing and powered up attacks, you can't break someone's shield. So if you're not a character with a shield busting ability, you have to try and grab them, which when you do, you are either just out of range or the enemy will just jump back and nullify your attempt. Now I look stupid. Now there is the 5% chance that you do grab them, but in my case, this was either pure luck or the opponent was standing still 2 inches from my face. But what makes me look even more stupid is when at the beginning of a battle, when players can still move around and pop their shield up before the match actually begins, I end up spam rushing attacks at the enemy while their guard is up, so I waste time doing absolutely nothing, just for the moment that if I don't throw up my own guard, I start getting pummeled on. And sometimes enemies will pop up their guard and stand there for so long, not doing anything, making it near impossible for me to actually land any attack. I think the development team should have taken a look at Super Smash Bros. And how they handled their shield. They have theirs on a timer, so after a few seconds of holding, the shield will break and you can't pop it back out for a little. Even if they didn't want to go with a timer and maybe wanted to go with a number of hits breaking the shield, it would have been a better way to balance this game. Sticking with my problems with the shield, sometimes character shields are the same as their attacks. This is more of a problem with characters from JoJo or Yu-Gi-Oh! As their attacks and shields all seem similar. Yugi, for example, shields with the Dark Magician, but he also attacks with him, so it is hard to see if he's trying to attack or if he's throwing up his shield. And personally, it seems I'm getting it wrong at least 80% of the time. At least I can say I have more positive words for the dodging and escaping mechanics. Now, I played on the PS4 version, but these buttons should be similar for Xbox, Switch, and whoever wanted to get this game on PC. If you're getting attacked and your escape meter in the bottom left has something in it, you can hit L2 and dash away from the fight real quick to a farther part of the stage. Vice versa, if you're at a farther part of the stage, you can dash to your opponent to close the distance. Very helpful when opponents go flying after combo attacks. I really like this feature, and having a gauge so you can't spam it is actually a really great idea in my opinion. It makes it so that you have to be smart using your escapes. Super commendable. Good job, guys. I'd also say the same with dodging. If a normal attack or combo attack is coming in, you can hit R2 right before the hit lands and you'll warp to the side or behind the enemy. If you're in the air during a combo attack, you can actually warp behind your enemy and start your own combo in midair. Again, a really amazing feature that tests your reaction time. My only gripe with it is that sometimes it can be a little confusing on whether you can actually dodge. And this is more for midair fights. There are some points during it that it feels like you can't actually dodge, but that could also just be me never actually hitting it at the right time. I think the last thing in terms of gameplay that I can think of is that some of the camera angles can set you up to fail. I have 2 instances of this. One was in Jotaro vs. Kenshiro. You fight as Jotaro, but whenever you are attacking, the camera angle is aimed right at your back. So if Kenshiro is right in front of you, you can't see any of his animations, meaning you have no idea if he's blocking or not, or maybe setting up for an ability. Another is whenever you use moves like Black Tornado, which can take up 70% of the screen and block your view of the opponent. And in this game, you can't control the camera with the right joystick, it just follows the opponent. These problems really come forward because of the lack of that camera control. While I think it is nice that you can be locked onto your opponent so you never actually lose them, you also can lose the ability to see what they are doing due to the camera possibly getting obscured. Ooh, yeah. And sometimes if you finish hitting a full mid-air combo, you can have an arena change mid-fight, which I think really spiced up the monotonous fighting and ability scenes with something a little different. I didn't start to see these until about halfway through the game, but I could just be unlucky on that part. Alright, I mentioned it before, and now I'm going to talk about it. The final fight of this game. When I first wrote this part, I had beat the game like 2 hours prior, so the fight was fresh in my mind. And so is the anger in about 3 hours of my life that I won't get back. So I will not be changing anything in the script. Let's start. After battling Venoms that have ambushed the characters, you rush with Luffy to meet up with Goku and Naruto to confront Prometheus. When there, he takes the cube that Future Trunks gave you at the beginning of the story, leaving you without your abilities. Now you have to go into the hardest fight of the game without half of the mechanics you have been using all game. Wonderful. What comes next is basically Prometheus treating you like Hulk treated Loki during the Avengers, just throwing you around and absolutely beating the pants off of you. I am not kidding when I say this. If you are not able to pull off consistent dodges, keep your character from locking into attacking animations, and were not able to stay on this man for the whole fight, you were gone. And even then, he could still use his ultimate and take you from 75% health to death. The first time he did that to me, I started punching the shit out of my bed next to me so that I wouldn't scream and wake my roommate. I had to leave the match and go pop an item. I've never even purchased an item throughout my entire playthrough until after that match. But I was getting to the point of wanting to give up and not play the rest of the game. But I kept at it. Eventually I was able to adapt to his ass pull moves and tactics and beat him down. Then a cutscene plays of all the main characters on the ground while Prometheus walks towards us saying how he's won. Dog shit, by the way, I just beat you. Then Kane and Light Yagami appear and Kane starts walking towards us. Prometheus tries blasting Kane, but he just tanks all of them. Like, okay buddy, you do the fighting, fuck my hard work here. He sacrifices himself and gives us his cube, so now we regain our abilities. Then we go into the official final fight, where we just fight Prometheus again, but with our abilities. This one was a little easier for me just because I was so used to chaining my abilities together that now I could fight fair. We end up defeating Prometheus and saving the world. The end. Now, this final fight was difficult. Nothing on the level of a Souls-like game, but hard. If you really hadn't mastered being able to do high-speed dodges or weren't able to stay on Prometheus throughout the whole fight, you could basically start praying to the stars above that you didn't get a big blue dick shoved down your throat. Now, these next few sections might seem a little out of the way since you're probably thinking, what else is there to talk about? Hasn't he complained enough? But I have a few more annoyances that I need to air out. First is the amount of time that it takes to do things in this game. When you go to start a mission from one of the mission counters, you go into a loading screen, then into a cutscene, then into another loading screen, then into the fight, which goes to another loading screen after, into another cutscene, then another loading screen before getting back to Umbras Base. And that's not including if you need to restart the match, because that's a whole nother loading screen right there. Or if your mission has multiple cutscenes that will happen back to back, there will be a loading screen in between them. Why are we in loading screen hell? I'd think that loading a fairly small field in comparison to other games would be easy and at the very least be unnecessary in between cutscenes that are on the same battlefield. And this problem wouldn't be as bad if it didn't range from a 20-second wait time to a full minute. Now, I'm not saying myself and other people don't have the patience to wait a minute, but with the amount of time you spend in loading screens throughout the entire game, you could attend a college lecture, go see a football game, fly from Ohio to South Carolina, and once you finish the game and try to play through free missions back to back, you end up being in loading screens more than the actual fights. Now, this next point was brought up by Alex August in his Jump Force video, so I'm going to link it in the description, put it up in a card, go check his video out, he's got great videos. With the amount of loading screens in this game, why is it just this bland, futuristic, tech-looking UI with tips in the middle? The one point at which you are forced to look at images and you don't put popular manga panels in there? I mean, they put popular manga panels in the final cutscenes, so they have some as assets already, but they never used them in the places that would make them most sense to put them. Why wouldn't they put some popular panels here to encourage anime-only watchers to try reading manga, or showing people who haven't seen an anime or manga something that could get them interested in it? For a company trying to pull a cash grab, they suck at building on the chances they give themselves. I would also like to complain about the gameplay recording feature with this game. Now, I don't know if or how many other games do this as well, but every single time the game goes into a cutscene, it blocks gameplay recording. Now, with somebody trying to gather footage to use for a video without a capture card, this is super annoying, because now I have to use other people's gameplay while I would like to use my own. But this annoyed me even more, because as a casual gamer, I have to see a notification pop up every single time a cutscene starts and stops to mention the gameplay recording. That gets annoying very quickly. It also just doesn't make sense to me. Why are you blocking the recording of cutscenes in a game? I don't understand it. Well, I'm hoping to get a capture card, hopefully by tomorrow when I'm recording this section, so fingers crossed, hopefully it won't be a problem in the future. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I didn't play this game with audio, and part of that decision is because I like listening to music or YouTube or movies while I game. It just feels right to me. I'm going to start breaking out of that habit as I'm starting to stream games on my Twitch channel, link in the description, so that I can better immerse myself in the game and story. I'm also, making videos on video games. I should listen better to what the hell I'm talking about. But another reason why I didn't listen to audio in this game is because everything is in sub. Now, I am a huge anime fan. Hell, I bought Jump Force a year after it released. You'd think I'd have a screw loose through something. But when it comes to watching anime, I will always prefer the dubbed version over the subbed version, for the sole purpose that I can do other things while I watch. Now, I can argue the points of both in another video, but the point is I like dubbed. And sometimes the original voices for some of these characters are annoying as hell to me personally. Goku specifically, I cannot stand in dub. The voice is just too high-pitched for me, and it doesn't feel like it fits the character. So if I don't like some characters' voices, and I'm already just reading subtitles, why wouldn't I just play without the audio? I would like to make a statement that I don't do this with subbed anime. I still listen to the audio of subbed anime. Hell, I'm watching like 10 new series from this season of anime, so yes, I have a Sharingan. Cool. Cool. To close out this video, I'd like to state that with all the complaining I did, Jump Force to me was a fun play. Really, if you're not paying too much attention to the story and are just playing the fights in the game, it can be good. This is something you see with a lot of video essays and people who dive into media literacy. When you don't think about it, it can be fun. But now that I have been looking deeper into the media I consume, I have come to the sad realization that Jump Force was a game that had the potential to be amazing. A game that brought so many well-known and popular characters from Shonen Jump series into one and be the definitive edition. But if we want that, we will have to go back to the PS3 with J-Stars. Jump Force was a game that was set up to be a huge success, but turned out to be a huge disappointment. At least it still did better than Cursed Clash. God, does this game look like shit. I want to thank you all for watching this video to the end and actually watching it in the first place. This is my first try at these types of videos, and I'm really excited to try and make some more and hopefully make them even higher quality. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. I'm also going to be streaming over on Twitch at Gaming Legion 01, so follow me over there and check me out. All VODs from that will also be uploaded to my other channel, Gaming Legion VODs, so you can check out old streams over there. As of recording this part, it is 12:30 a.m. the day I get my capture card, and I can't sleep. I am so excited to get my package and start playing games from my PlayStations and Switch on stream. Now I gotta spend another few days trying to platinum this game, so if one of the next videos I show a hole in my wall, you know why. Anyways, thank you for watching. Take care. Peace.